Hi, I'm Courtney, and this is Something Positive for Positive People, Episode 3. And I have Kim with me. Kim, go on and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Kim. I am 33 years old. I am white and I live in Missouri. I work in children's nonprofits and kind of doing training and development.
Awesome.
Oh, and I also have a daughter.
Oh,
and she's 6.
Okay, 6-year-old daughter. Okay. And what is your condition?
I have HSV2, and I've had it for about 2 years now.
All right. And what is your definition of HSV2? Everyone says something a little bit different.
It's genital herpes.
Okay, so you just go straight direct with it. A lot of people give it a nickname, or they like to say it's this or that, or just soften the blow a little bit. So you just flat out direct genital herpes.
Yep.
Got it. Now, how long have you been HSV2 positive?
I was diagnosed about 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure the first time I contracted it, or the first time I had an outbreak, that was probably around the time that I contracted it.
Okay, and do you have any idea where it came from? Who gave it to you?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I was dating a few people at the time, and I kind of disclosed to the people, and some responded, some didn't, and nobody seemed to have it. So.
Okay. So you were dating a few people at a time. So you wanted to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I guess we probably have to go way back to the beginning. I was actually married for 7 years, but with my husband for 12. From the time I was 18 until I was 30.
You got married at 18? You must be from a small town in Missouri.
I met him when I was 18.
Oh, okay,
but I didn't get married when I was 23, which is still pretty young.
Wow. Did you live in a small town in Missouri?
No, I actually grew up in Michigan.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I grew up in Michigan, and we met at college my freshman year. Got married a couple years after graduation from college, and I was, with him for my entire adult life. Had a baby with him at age 27, and we were planning on having more children and just kind of living our lives together for the rest of our lives. But unexpectedly, I got divorced.
Oh, okay. We can stay away from that.
Oh no, I am an open book about it. He was having an affair and did not want to stop dating her. So I did not want to be in a relationship with 3 people. No. So we separated and got divorced pretty quickly and pretty abruptly.
Nothing against people who want to be in a marriage with 3 people.
Yes, but I did not. It was not my choice.
Yeah.
So he is now married to her. And we share custody of our daughter. But that was kind of interesting because it really threw me at age 30 all of a sudden into the dating world for the first time in my entire life. I mean, from the time you're 18 till 30 being with one person. Yeah. One. And I had never dated. I had never gone on a date because when my ex and I started dating, we were, college freshmen, and it was just, hey, let's go grab a slice of pizza at the pizza place.
So he snuck his way in there.
Yeah, I had never been taken out on a proper date. I didn't know what that dating experience was going to be like. So I felt like I was just learning how to date in my 30s.
And how was that experience for
fun.
you when you began dating?
It was fun.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun. So I lost a lot of weight on the divorce diet. So that just kind of melted right off me the first few months because I was too, heartbroken to eat. So all of a sudden I had this new body and I had this, I tried the online dating thing and I was getting a lot of attention and I was just shocked. I didn't know what dating was like and I had a lot of fun with it.
Nice.
So I told everyone I was upfront that I was just looking to meet people, go on dates, have company. I wasn't looking for a relationship initially because I was heartbroken and getting over that and trying to rebuild my life. And I didn't want to throw a new relationship into the mix. So I was enjoying dating and just dating and having casual things and having a bunch of people I could call and just, and when I say dating, I mean, that's not, it's not just sex. It was like I just enjoyed going out to dinner, having different company.
So you had your starting 5 and then a 6th man. You had one person who you enjoyed conversation with, someone who could fix things, someone who would be able to just spend time with you, someone who's always available.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I was just making
I had a minimum of 3 people at any given time that I could call up. So, I met with people once a week, once every other week or so, and my daughter was with her dad, and my daughter never was involved meeting anybody. It was always on the time that I didn't have her. And I just had a lot of fun, and I made a lot of great friends.
Good. All right, so when you were dating, at one point did you realize you contracted herpes?
It was about a year or two after I started dating, over the summer. It's kind of hard to mistake it when you have it. Okay, so let me just go back for a minute or two. When I got divorced, I also I decided that I was gonna kind of just make all these decisions that were really off the wall for me. So one of the things I did was I actually got a genital piercing as well. So this factors in because I have that, and I had this spot on my I guess clitoral hood, and it really hurt. And I thought, well, it's probably just rubbing from the piercing. Like I was doing spin class a lot, and I thought, well, I probably just the friction made a little blister.
So you put your vag through it initially after the piercing.
So I thought, I kept feeling, and I kept looking, and I'm like, well, it's just like a little tiny dot. It probably is just like a blister. But then as it didn't go away, and it kept hurting, and I couldn't even wear underwear to work, and I had to lay on my bed because it was like everything was on fire. I'm like, the denial part of me is like, no, it's probably nothing. This is nothing. But then the real part of me was saying, it's time to go to a doctor.
Oh, how long did it take for you to realize it and go to the doctor?
Probably from the time I first felt it hurting to going to a doctor, about a week.
Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of told myself, if it's not better by Monday, I'll give it through the weekend. I'll go to the doctor on Monday.
Yeah.
So I did. I actually went to Planned Parenthood. I have a regular OBGYN, but I thought, I'll just go to Planned Parenthood. I'd already had my annual exam this year, and I'll just pay for an STD test. I figured they're probably more likely to know and be able to diagnose quickly than, my OBGYN that basically just deals with women who are pregnant and having babies in the suburbs. So I went, and the woman who did the exam, she kind of goes, well, I hate to say this, she's like, I'm not sure, it's about 50-50, but this kind of looks like herpes. And I was like, oh. Because I had Googled, I had looked at all the images, but it didn't look like the images. And she even said, this is kind of an unusual case. It's a pretty mild case. It doesn't look like some of the things the horror pictures that you see on.
Those are so bad.
I know, it's like they show the most extreme cases. Most people don't have cases like that. So it was a really mild case. There were just really 2 spots where I guess I have outbreaks, just been very small. So I had to wait for the results, of course.
Right.
But I actually did call immediately. I wasn't even in my car yet. I called a friend of mine. And I knew he had herpes because he had told me. And he kind of knew as soon as I called him exactly why I was calling. And so he had me come over for a wine, and we talked through it, and he helped me kind of immediately feel.
That's good.
That's
good. Not a lot of us have a friend that we can just immediately call, like, oh my God, I now have herpes. How do you deal with this? Yeah. So, and this wasn't someone you slept with. It was just a friend.
We had, but it had been a while.
Okay. So he was diagnosed after, or did you know?
Before. He told me on our first date.
Okay.
And I didn't let that stop us, but we were very careful. And I really don't think I contracted it from him because I know that, he was on suppressive medication. We of course used protection, and I just trusted that it was him. And there was enough of a distance between when we had slept together the last time when I contracted it. I know it can lay dormant, but I just don't feel like it was from him.
Okay. And then, so when you found out that was the first thing you did, how did you respond emotionally to it? So when the doctor said, hey, that looks like herpes, were you like, shit, I figured? Or what were you thinking at this point?
My way of dealing with different situations is to find the humor in it.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. I mean, I earned herpes, that's for sure, with all the dating that I was doing. You know, I know the statistics, and I know that it's like 1 in 6 or so adults have genital herpes, and so I mean, I've been with more than 6 people, so I mean, I know that's not how statistics work, but I mean, I was bound to eventually.
It's a straight dice roll.
I was every single time it was, and even if you are using protection, I mean, genital herpes is not something that you can really, you know, a condom won't 100% protect you in those cases. So.
Right. So when you got the results in, were you shocked by the fact that you had herpes, or had you already come to peace with it after the doctor had told you?
Well, the doctor had kind of said it was 50-50 shot, but I kind of knew there's really nothing else that would have caused that level of pain and discomfort. And so I knew that it was only a matter of time before I had gotten it. And I'm kind of just relieved to know, okay, well, this is what it is, and this is what has happened.
All right. And how did you handle it moving forward from there?
I let myself wallow for a little while. You know, I got the suppressive acyclovir, I think it's pronounced. I got that drug, started it, was feeling a lot better as soon as I started that. And then I just kind of let myself wallow. I had a few dates lined up, canceled them all, while I just tried to make my peace and figure out what I was gonna do with my life moving forward.
Right.
So I think the biggest fears that rolled through my head was that I would never have like a normal sex life again. This was going to be something that I was going to obviously have to reveal to people. It might make people not want to date me. And I was just worried that even if I did find someone who did want to date me, that it would always mean like sex in a hazmat suit, and I wouldn't ever have oral sex again or anything like that.
Yeah. And so, did your sex life change after contracting herpes and knowing it was herpes? Like, how much time did you really give yourself before you began dating again? Like you said, you canceled all of your dates that were lined up. So, how long between canceling the dates and picking back up dating? How long did you allow yourself to wallow?
So, I can't remember exactly. Probably about a month. It's funny because I had to text some people and let them know, hey, by the way, you should probably get tested. Was very careful not to accuse anyone.
Right.
But just, hey, I just found out that I have this, so you probably would want to go get tested.
Mm-hmm. And what was their response?
And that was the interesting thing. Some people didn't respond at all. Some people respond. One person I remember responded very defensively, and my initial thought was it was probably him because he was like, "Well, how do you know it was me?" I'm like, "I don't know it was you, but I'm just saying that you should probably get tested because I'm telling everyone that."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I was already tested," and I'm like, "Well, herpes is not part of a standard STD screen. If you do blood work, they don't test for herpes.
Right.
You have to specifically go in and ask for that one."
And a lot of people don't know that.
They don't.
You'll hear someone say, "Oh, I'm clean. I got all my results back. I'm clean.
Well,
I got tested for everything."
Make sure you get tested for that one because that was not tested.
Correct. So like that was something that I've always done. Whenever I got tested, I just say, "Test me for everything." Like they'd ask me, "You want an HIV test?" Yeah, I want everything, whatever everything is, and I assumingly thought that meant everything. Any STD, HSV1, HSV2, HSV7, whatever it is. So, and finding out that you had to go and get tested for
specifically ask herpes. That you can't say everything. You have to say specifically herpes if you want that one.
Yeah.
One person that I had seen pretty regularly for about 6 months, I had actually already broken it off with him because it just
wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. So I had already broken it off with him about a month earlier. So I had told him, and he was really cool. He was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'll go get tested right away." And I said, "Would you mind telling me what your results are? I'm just trying to figure out, who I need to tell." And he let me know about a week later that he didn't have it.
Okay.
So I was really relieved about that.
Good.
But a lot of people didn't respond at all.
Wow.
And it was just weird to me. But it was funny because after I kind of told a lot of the people I had been with for the last few months, they kind of stopped communicating with me. So that was another kind of rejection, feeling like, oh, well, I thought we were, we had like a friendship or something, but instead it looks like, now I know why you kept me around.
You're of no more use to me.
Yeah. So I had to really start over fresh. So I tried to view it though as a good thing. I had kind of reached a point where I had been, just casually dating for almost 2 years, and I was ready to look for something a little more meaningful. I didn't want to be in my 40s and 50s just casually dating. So I'm young enough that I'd like to try to have another kid if possible. And so it was time for me to be more serious about who I was choosing to date. And I wanted that deeper connection with somebody.
So you began to get more, I mean, were your standards already high? Like the people that you would date beforehand, you know, did they have to have this going for them? Or was it just like, ooh, attention?
Oh, no, yeah, definitely. I don't want to say that I'm being snobby, but, I'm college educated, I'm pretty, I'm funny, and I know I'm a catch. And so I knew that I was dating really awesome people, and I just knew someone had to be just a good-hearted person, and I wasn't booty calling people. That was like a big standard. I'm like, no.
Question.
I was like, you have to at least like pretend you like me by hanging out. So I would actually never ever do booty calls with anyone. So yeah, I mean, we were like, when I say dating, and that's not like a vague like term. No, I mean we were actually like going out on dates. We would go to get a drink. We'd go to get dinner. We'd go to a museum. We would go hiking. I would actually go on dates with people. So the sex part was there too.
Did you find your standards changing after you contracted herpes?
Nope.
Everything just stayed the same. Like you didn't go, all right, now I need this, and this, or lowering your standards like anyone who date me. Because that's another thing. Like this is something that I touch on regularly when I have conversations. It's just that just because you have herpes doesn't mean you have to lower your standards to just anyone who is willing to accept you having herpes. I found personally that having herpes has made me more picky because now it's like, all right, is this person worth investing the time in long term? And if they're worth that, then I need to be very upfront about this.
Exactly.
So.
No, I don't think my standards changed at all. I just know that sex on the first date was really off limits. Of course, at that point, I kind of made it a policy to tell them on the end of like a second or a third date. So after we had gone out once, we liked each other enough to go out a second time. They asked me out again. I would go out a second time, and then I would determine either if it was ready at the right time to tell them or not. But I would always choose the end of a date. I always made sure to preface it by like, I'm not looking for an answer from you right now. You don't need to tell me anything, but I just want to know. I just want you to know so you can do your own research if this is something that's a deal breaker or not.
So that's your standard for disclosing. It's, I'm going to tell you, hey, here's what it is. You can do your research, take it or leave it. Okay. Now, have you had to like tweak your disclosing? Is there a difference between your first disclosure and your last disclosure?
Well, it's interesting because the first person I disclosed to, he was like, what did he say? Well, he said, he's like, I'd like to continue seeing you. He's like, but I think we obviously need to put sex on the back burner for a while. And I said, that's completely fine. I think that's a good idea. And he said, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. And I said, okay. And we continued to see each other. We saw each other for about 5 or 6 weeks, never having sex. Finally, we started to fool around. But once again, my worst fear, he wouldn't even touch me. It was all me to him.
Did he go into the bathroom and come back out in a hazmat suit?
No, like a head-to-toe condom, latex outfit. No, he didn't.
I'm ready to go.
But I kind of asked, I remember telling him, I feel like I'm a dented can. Like I'm good, but you're not going to pick me off the shelf. I'm a dented can to you. And I'm way too awesome to be perceived as a dented can. I know that I am educated and intelligent and funny, and I know that I have all these great qualities. I've got a great head on my shoulders. I see humor in life. I mean, I'm responsible. I've got so many great qualities, and you're going to let this one thing get in the way of potentially, having a relationship with a really awesome person. And he finally ultimately said, and I remember this distinctly, he goes, I'm just not willing to take the risk with you. And I said, okay, well, I appreciate your honesty. I guess we have nothing more to do. And he said, but I'd like to still be friends with you. And I said, no, because my friends don't judge me for having herpes. Yeah. My friends don't think I'm less of a catch for having herpes.
Okay, so him saying that did make you feel as if he were looking down upon you. Okay, so it wasn't like, I know a lot of times it's not necessarily what we say, but it's more so how we say it. So the way that he said it, I mean, what were his exact words again?
I'm unwilling to take the risk with you. And I remember this because I changed his name in my phone as unwilling to take the risk with me. And so when he texted me a few months later, and he did, and when he texted me a few months after that, and he did, I remembered what it was that made sure that we were not going to see each other because he was unwilling to take the risk with me.
So what did he say when he followed up with you? Was it like, hey, I'm just thinking about you, or?
Oh, you know how guys try to, oh, hey, I think I saw you at this party the other night. Were you there? No. Oh, hey, I just saw you on Tinder. What's going on? I'm not on Tinder. I'm dating somebody right now. You know?
Oh my gosh.
So they do their little tricks to try to lure you back and tell us what's going on with your life. Oh, I got a new, you know, and then he'd tell me, oh, I got a new job. Just, you know, trying to fish around, see what's going on in your life, see if they have a chance.
Yeah. So in disclosing, what advice do you have for someone else who's newly diagnosed and has taken their time? Well, actually, let's start there. For someone who's listening here to your story, who's newly diagnosed, what would you tell that person, guy or girl?
Yeah, I would say personally, I think someone has to earn the right to get to know that information about you. So I know some people have, you know, they like to tell before they even go on a date with somebody. I'm not going to just go tell somebody before I go on a date with them. I'm going to see if I even like them as a person first, and if they like me as a person first before I'm going to tell them that.
Right.
So we're going to go out, we're going to have a date just like I would have a date. If I didn't have herpes, we're going to, you know, go to dinner or have coffee or a drink or whatever. And we're going to see if we like each other. And if he likes me enough and he wants to go out again, and I like him enough and I want to go out again, then we'll go out and have another date. And if we have a connection and I feel like I'd like to do something physical with him in the future, then I'll tell him. And whether that is the end of the second date or a third date or maybe even longer, I guess that just is a case-by-case situation. But I don't pre-screen or drop that bombshell on a first date because I don't even know if we like each other first.
Right.
And we should figure out if we like each other before we start revealing medical conditions to each other. So that I will say that first guy that I disclosed to was the only one that went bad. After that, every single person I told said, and they didn't even really have to do any research. They immediately were just like, that's not a big deal to me. So the first one was a bad situation, and I definitely was concerned about the second time, but I got the courage to do it a second, third, fourth, fifth time, and every guy that I told said, you know what, that doesn't bother me. And in fact, some of them said, you know what, that actually makes me like you more, because that makes me know that you are a person of integrity who's going to tell me something. You know, if you didn't have to tell me, I mean, ethically I feel like you do, but you didn't have to tell me, and you did, and you put yourself out there, and that tells me you've got a good head on your shoulders and you're a good moral person.
That's good. I hadn't thought about it that way. So in that 30-day to a month time frame where you didn't see anyone, between not seeing anyone and seeing someone, what did you do? What was your priority during that block of time where you just weren't seeing anyone?
I just did things for myself. You know, I have my daughter to take care of, and I have her a little more than half the time. And the other times, I work full time. I have friends, so I remember kind of going hiking with friends, or I like to go hiking alone. It took a while to get back to spin class because of just where it's located. I like to knit, so I knitted, watched TV.
You did not strike me as a
projects
knitter
around the house
at all.
Oh gosh, I should have brought it.
So crafty. So let's see. After the dating, you are engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So I met my fiance through Tinder of all places, if you can believe it. We had swiped on each other, and he messaged me. I remember I was at work, so it was probably like a Monday or a Tuesday when he messaged me. And I noticed he lived far away, and I said, well, you live 100 miles or, you know, something pretty far away. I'm not really interested in a long distance relationship. But I also, in the back of my mind, was like, well, you know, people aren't exactly knocking on the door to be with me right now. So, you know, hey, it wasn't really a lowering of standards, but I'm just like, hey, what, you know, he seems like he's interested. He's cute. Why not? So we texted for a while, and I remember giving him a pretty hard time about how far away he lived, and I was not interested in that kind of a setup. And he said, let me just take you out to dinner. He's like, I will drive down there, I'll get a hotel room, and we'll just go out to dinner. I just would really like to meet you. So I said, okay, fine. So we talked on the phone a couple times just to make sure. He didn't want me to bail. He wanted to feel each other out if we're going to go through all that hassle. He drove down. We had our first date on Halloween. We went to a very nice dinner.
Did you dress up?
No,
What?
we're not costume people.
Oh, you guys are crazy.
So we went out to a very nice
Now,
restaurant.
what if he would have shown up in a hazmat suit?
Well, we talked about possibly, wearing costumes, but no, it's not his style. So then, yeah, we actually ended up kissing and kind of making out on the first date. And I actually
At the restaurant?
No.
Oh,
We went to a second location. And I decided to tell him that I normally, like I said, wait until a second or third, but I figured he had come all this way. I don't want him to have to drive all this way and get a hotel room again for a second date if this could be a deal breaker for him. So I told him, and he thanked me, and we kind of went on our way. I saw him the next morning. We met for like lunch before he went back home.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't say anything. He called me, I think probably Tuesday or Wednesday the next week and said, hey, I just want to let you know I was doing some reading on herpes, and he's like, I have cold sores on my lip. And he's like, and that's really the same thing as what you have. So he's like, it's not an issue for me, because how could I judge you for having the exact same thing that I have just because it's in a different location?
And this is what he said to you?
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel?
I thought, well, what a good, upstanding person.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And thank you for seeing it that way. Because so many people do have cold sores on their lips, and I don't know why the stigma exists for one but not the other, when it is essentially the same thing. It's just a matter of where it is located.
Oh.
So we continued dating. He kept pressuring me. I was dating other people, like I said. I didn't date exclusively unless I needed to. And he was kind of putting the pressure on, can we be exclusive? Can we be exclusive? And I said, finally, I agreed. Cut off all my other people.
Had to cut them off, man.
Had to cut them off.
Had to cut off the side dudes.
Yeah. And they then he actually moved to St. Louis a few months after we became an exclusive couple.
Oh,
so
wow.
he got a place over here, and we were a couple, and we have been for about almost 2 years now. So we just got engaged.
How'd he do it?
So he went and he got me my favorite donuts, and he came to work at the end of the day. He was picking me up because we were going to go to a comedy show. And it was the end of the day after the work day, about 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was kind of working late trying to wrap up some things. And he came into my office and he brought me the donuts, and I said, oh, thanks. And he said, well, don't you want one? I'm like, it's like dinner time. We're going to go out to dinner before we see the show.
Way to make it hard for him.
Well, I have to admit, I kind of was a little suspicious, because he had asked me, well, what's your favorite donut? And then he wrote it down, and I was like, dude, why are you writing down my favorite donut? Like, you can't remember it?
So you didn't see this coming?
Oh, of course I saw it coming. I knew
okay.
we had gone ring shopping, so I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, he told me that he had it.
You didn't bite into the donut with the ring, did you?
No, he just had it sticking up in there. But when he was like, why don't you open it up? They're really good. I'm like, oh, I know they're good, but I'm going to wait and have dinner in a little bit. And so finally he made me open it up, and it was in there, and it said, Kim, will you marry me, on the inside of the box? And he got on one knee. So it was really cute. It was, he wanted to catch me off guard because I knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I knew he had it, but I hadn't seen the ring. And then he knew that if he had planned something like big and romantic, that I was going to be expecting it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
so we're
adorable.
getting married in about 6 months now.
Congrats.
Okay.
Congrats. See, like, good things still happen to us. I mean, there's no reason for anyone to feel like, oh, my love life is over, my dating life is over. All you have to do is commit to yourself, and just like Kim here, if you believe that you're an awesome person and you deserve nothing less than something amazing for yourself, then there's no reason that you aren't able to bring in equally amazing people, especially who can accept you for whatever it is that you're dealing with. Because anyone who chooses to be with you or around you also needs to be able to accept the extensions of you, whether it be you have children or you have dogs or you have other priorities and things going on in your life, and if you have an STD. So in terms of the biggest takeaway here, what is something that you would like to leave with the listeners here, Cam? I think that the disclosing part was probably the biggest thing, because once you were diagnosed, you found humor in it, and then it seems like you didn't really have much of an issue with disclosing. And with all the dating that you said you did, you may be like a disclosing expert, especially to the point where you got a ring out of it. Like, you're winning at life right now. That's the ultimate goal, is to find your person or your people. No judgment. And you've done that. So what do you want to leave with the listener?
One thing that it really helped, I kind of treat it as a gift in a way, because it helps you to screen out the people who really would make good long-term life partners and who wouldn't. If you are looking for a life partner and you tell them that you have herpes, which is really simply just a skin condition, and they want to run in terror from that, I mean, then they wouldn't have made a good life partner anyway. Because life throws so many curveballs at you. You can have miscarriages, and you can have cancer, and you can have a parent die. You can have a fire that burns down your house. You can have a horrible car accident that, paralyzes you. Anything can happen in life. And if someone isn't willing to want to try to have a life with you because they're scared off by a skin condition, that really doesn't...
I have to say this, so some people would argue that it's a nerve condition.
Okay.
So I just had to say that. So you can call it a skin condition or nerve condition.
I mean, it doesn't cause any problems in my day-to-day life. I mean, when I have an outbreak, it's uncomfortable, but you live around it, and there's a lot worse things that can happen. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, hey, that man who said he wasn't willing to take the risk with me because of this, well, you know what if I didn't have herpes, and what if we did date, and what if we had gotten married, and then I found out I had cancer? Yeah. Would he have bailed on me then because that was too much for him? That was too much for him to handle? Maybe he's the type. Maybe he told me exactly the type of person that he is. Yeah. And with my current fiance, he's the type of person who, hey, when life is going to throw us curveballs, because it always does, he and I are going to be able to get through it together. Because at the end of the day, you can put things in perspective and know that what kind of person they are by how they respond to something like this.
Good. So awesome. That's just, to summarize what Kim just said, is this really helps with you filtering in the right people into your life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It's a great test.
All right. Now, one thing I like to do is give credit to any non-profits or something or any resources that are available that you think would help people. Is there anything that you would like to throw out there into the world? Just
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google.
I mean, you can Google anything and find out information, and that's pretty much how I've got most of my information. So I can't think of anything in particular.
Not the images, though. Don't look at the images. Read the articles. Personally, I feel like there's more value in people's experience than there is on the highest rated search results that are available.
Yeah. Just don't be afraid to tell people. I mean, don't be afraid to share it. You would be surprised at how many people have it. I actually, 2 of my sisters have it.
No way. How many sisters do you have?
I have 5 sisters.
Oh my God. And brothers?
One brother.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot of you.
Yeah,
so the 1 in 6 almost applied there.
No, it's 3 and 7. So yeah, I mean, you never know who's going to have it. And I shared it with friends, and not necessarily the friends didn't say they had it, but they were like, oh, well, my other friend has it. Yeah. So, don't be afraid to tell people. Don't be afraid to break that stigma.
It's happened to me. I told one of my close friends recently, and one of these said, "Oh, I know somebody with it." And you just never know until you are willing to put yourself out there. There's no reason for that shouldn't be the first thing you do. Is just be like, hey, I have herpes, unless that's the kind of person you are. But
also not going to be ashamed of it either.
Yeah, don't be ashamed of it, and don't be afraid of being alone, because there's plenty of stories that we don't hear about where people who are diagnosed with an STD and go off and find love one way or another, because the main thing that I hear when I talk to people is, oh my God, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, or I'm so gross and disgusting, no one's going to want me. And that isn't the case, and that's what this podcast is for, to put those stories out there and get people to share their own personal experience and still being able to pursue the things that they want out of life, and not allow a nerve condition or skin condition or virus at all to hold them back. And just as Kim said here, she felt like it was a gift. So when you begin to look at things and change your perspective on them into a more positive way, you start to see the world around you differently, and you're able to proceed accordingly. So this concludes our third episode of Something Positive for Positive People, because you guys are giving me a lot of feedback on episodes being too long, which I really appreciate. So I want to do everything I can to make this show as useful as it can possibly be and be of service to you guys. So please like, comment, share. I mean, not everyone is as open as I am about this, obviously, but if you are, feel free to follow the Twitter and Instagram account at H on my chest. It looks like Han my chest, which is really weird, but it's H on my chest. And you'll get updates on when the next episode's coming out, any interesting articles that we may come across, and that's how you'll be able to just keep track of us for now. So these are going to continue to be uploaded to YouTube up until the actual podcast and website are up and running. So please share with anyone who you may know who needs something like this, or if they can relate to Kim's story or any of the previous episodes or upcoming episodes. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. Again, this is Something Positive for Positive People, and you will hear from me again soon, hopefully. Thank you. Still need to work on the closing. I don't know what I'm going to do. Thanks, Kim. You want to say bye?
Bye.
You should just be like, peace out. Just say
Peace
it one
out.
time.
Peace out.
Say peace out, homies.
Peace out, homies.